Hope you're all doing well, and thanks for the opportunity to come talk about Connections and where we're going. We have some very exciting things that we released in Connections 7, and a lot more to come. So let me go turn off my camera here and start sharing. So we've got, as I said, we came out with Connections 7 a couple months ago now. We're seeing some good response to it. And I want to take a little time to talk about what's new in Connection 7, and then in particular, focus on the Microsoft integration that we released and give you some demonstrations of that. So we really were focused on three key things with Connection 7. The first is to help teams get up and running, get their communities and their sites up and running up to 80% faster through the use of updates we're calling part of the tailored experience strategy, as well as importantly, new templates that make it very easy for anybody to set up a new community, and really importantly, not just bring forward the look and feel of the community, but actually bring forward the content and applications that are in it. One of the real advantages of Connections is being able to set up communities that can provide structure and bring organization to the team's activities and make sure you're using the right tool for the right job as you're working together with your colleagues. And with the templates, you can take a community that's working really well. Maybe you've got a project management community that you want to roll out across the organization. Maybe you have processes that you want to make sure are repeatable and done consistently throughout the organization. And templates let you take that community, pick which content you want to include. Maybe that's the wiki structure with contents, the way it's set up. Maybe it's files with a folder system and subfolders that are pre-configured so people know where to find things consistently from community to community, and bring all of that forward very easily as you're setting up a new community. It also makes it easy to lay out the community the way you want it to look and feel, and we made a number of enhancements there. The second piece is what I'll focus on a lot here, and that's around the integration with the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, and I'll have more on that in a minute. And then the third piece was making it easy to deploy these capabilities with new automated scripts that let you get a Connections environment set up in as little as a matter of hours. By automating the processes for it. It's certainly ideal for things like setting up a proof of concept or a test environment to try out the new features of Connection 7, but can also be really good as you go to deploy in production or go to roll out upgrades to really simplify and speed up that entire process. We also have the containerized components now run cloud native in Amazon or Google. Or OpenShift rather. So a number of enhancements there as well. So looking more specifically at the Microsoft integration, and we focused on this because of feedback from our customers that said that they were, a lot of them are looking to roll out Teams. They've got SharePoint a part of the organizations. They may be using Outlook already. But we know that there are a lot of pains that can come from having data and content in multiple places. Information ends up in silos. It slows down collaboration. You find yourself constantly flipping back and forth. And our goal here was to allow you to collaborate in the way that made the most sense for you, while still taking full advantage of all of the capabilities that are unique to Connections. And so we did that by building out integration both inside of Connections, so letting you start a conversation with Teams from inside Connection, either starting a one-on-one chat or sharing any Connections page out into a Teams channel, bringing SharePoint libraries into your community so you can have all of that in one place, as well as enabling round-trip editing for Microsoft Office back, out to the Office editors and then back into Connections automatically. And then we also have integration inside of Microsoft. So removing those boundaries by giving you one-click access to your Connections communities inside your Teams channels, or being able to quickly and easily share content that exists in Connections out in the conversation, as well as being able to move content back and forth between any Outlook client and Connections. So that's a high-level view of the type of integration. Let's take a look at what this actually looks like in action. So here we are. We work for Woodburn Services, and they've moved all of their employees to work from home, as so many companies have done in the past year. Of course, that doesn't come without some hiccups along the way. Felix Adams is the head of IT, and he asked his IT support team to set up a connections community so end users can reach out to support, talk with other users, share their problems, find answers themselves. We know that self-help is a really big use of connections in a lot of our customers. And shortly after this initial rollout, they had the IT support was set up, people were set up, and the end users were starting to work from home. So in the first example, we'll show one of the employees, Mandy, needs some help getting her VPN set up. And so as you'll see, she finds Felix as a contact who can help her, and they quickly are able to set up a conversation in Teams so she can get the answers that she needs. So here we are inside of Connections. We're on the Orient Me page. And Mandy realizes she needs some help. She needs to find someone in IT who can help her with her VPN problem. So she goes to the directory and she's just going to type in, she's not sure who to contact, but she's going to look for IT support. And Felix pops up. He's the CIO, and he's tagged with IT and support. So he's a good person to reach out to. She brings up her profile, and you can see there's a chat button there now. And when we click that chat button, it opens up a Teams conversation between between Mandy and Felix. So she starts the conversation. She asks for help. My VPN isn't connecting anymore. Now we flip over to Felix. This is Felix's view, and you can see he receives this chat from Mandy. And sure, he's glad to help. And what he's going to do is he's going to add the wiki from that IT support community right into their chat. So just like any other application you can add to Teams, he's going to go, he saws a connections icon. And now he's going to add connections as an application into their conversation. He's going to pick the community, and now he can pick any of the applications in that community to include and add in. Because the support information he wants to share is in the wiki, he's going to add the wiki. And now right in their Teams chat, it's also going to post so she gets an alert that it's there. So now it adds that connections community wiki directly into their chat. And there are all of the information she needs. He's also going to go and add a link out to the general community to her so she can go get it later really easily. And again, when he just clicked on the connections icon in the chat bar and brought up his recent content and inserted the link into their chat. So there it is from Felix's standpoint. Let's flip back, and now here's what Mandy sees on the receiving end of it. She has a link to that. Excuse me. She's got a notification that the tab is there, and she can go bring that up. And you can see we have the full navigation of the wiki, all of the contents there, remote access, VPN. There she goes, and there's a step-by-step guide she needs to set it up. Very easy, right in the context of the conversation. And because this is fully integrated with Connections here, she can go and leave a comment just like she could on the Connections website itself. And adds the comment back. So all of your comment thread, all of that discussion is kept in context in Connections where it belongs, but she's able to access it from inside of Teams. And now she can even go and bring up Felix's profile still inside that Teams interface and add him as a contact so she can find him easier next time around. So that's the first example of how we're able to bring content into Teams to solve a problem quickly. Let's look at another situation involving the integration. Here, the support team wants to work together to resolve a problem. Teams is a good place for them to do it since they're using Teams, right? There's a real-time component here they want to take advantage of. But again, the content really lives and should live inside Connections. So let's see how they do that here. So we start off again on the Orient Me homepage, and we notice that Mandy has that someone's posted an issue here about the VPN. Mandy said she had the same problem. Roberto had commented on it also. And so here we're reviewing this as Ben, who works on the IT support team. He looks through this wiki page and notices a couple of people are having some issues with bandwidth on their home routers. And since a couple of people seem to have the problem, it's probably something that the IT team wants to get ahead of. So in order to do that, if you'll notice on the top right, there's a Teams icon there, and that lets you share a page from Connections into a Teams chat or a community. So Ben is going to go and start a chat with some of his colleagues. He's going to share this page so they can see it and have access to it. And he's going to go share it with his IT support channel that they have already set up. And you can even insert a comment on it. Hey, can we get together and brainstorm how to solve this problem that a couple of people are having? So there's confirmation. Our link has been shared. And if we flip over to Teams, here's that channel that he shared it to. And you can see the question. You can see the link back to Connections right there. So his teammates can see that. And it looks like Fatima has already responded to it. So let's see what she added to the conversation. Yep, I saw a similar question earlier. I found a good number of resources on the internet, and she pulled together a list of responses and some options that might help them. And she's going to go paste it directly into the chat. Okay, so here's all of the things that she found that can help in this situation. And Ben's going to reply. No, Felix replies, "Oh, that looks very thorough. I have nothing to add." And now Ben agrees. This is good to go. And so Fatima is able to go and say, "Okay, let me add this right into the back into Connections." And because they've got the forum integrated in, she doesn't have to go back to Connections or navigate anywhere else. She can go and access the forum directly inside of Teams and create a new post with that helpful information. And so here's the response. She's posting back to that question. And now, again, they were able to have this conversation in Teams, but the content lives inside of Connections. So anyone else who comes along and has this problem can find the answer they need. It's when you're having, one of the downsides of a tool like Teams is it's very hard to go find things that aren't in real time. And so you end up with lots of people posting the same question over and over again, or new people coming in not knowing that the answer is out there, versus a support forum where people can go find the answer, search for it, see what's been selected as the best answer. And so now that content lives in the right place inside of that community, and they were able to quickly have that discussion and post the content there. The next thing the team wants to do to help their users is bring in a SharePoint library. So Ben remembers that there is a library of old support information that might be helpful to bring forward. And let's see what happens there. So here we're viewing Ben. He reaches out to Felix and then points out that they have this old SharePoint library that has manuals for the headsets that might be helpful. Right? It doesn't make sense to go copy all of the files over into Connections. It already exists out there. Let's just bring this library in and insert it into the right community. So he's going to insert a link to the IT support community there, so they have it handy. And now, on his end, Felix receives this, gets the suggestion, thinks it's a good idea. Felix is the admin for the community, so he can go in and update it. Gives it a good old thumbs up there. And what you'll see is he's going to go in to the community here's the link to the SharePoint site. So he's going to go grab that URL and then go into the community and customize it using the new capabilities in Connection 7 on the home page, and bring in the SharePoint widget. So this is, if you haven't seen it, this is the new updated layout for customizing the highlights homepage for communities. A number of apps, number of widgets that you can bring in here. So if you'll notice on the bottom there is the SharePoint library widget. So we can just click that and we'll add it into the homepage. And now Felix can go in and customize that further. So first thing he needs to do is configure the widget to link it back to that SharePoint site. And it's as simple as just pasting in the URL for the site. And then that should be it. Hits close. And now you can go and you'll see that the content there is populated in that widget. Felix can also move it around a little bit. He wants to make it a little more prominent, so make sure people find it. So we can just go into edit mode, for customize mode for the highlights page, and you're just going to drag it up so it's in the center there. And that's it, all done. So now everyone can get access to that old content inside of their community as well. And now there's one more thing that that the team wants to do. They've been really successful rolling out this IT support community. They're seeing a lot of interest in it, and they want to go let the CEO know how successful it's been. So Ben is going to update the report that they use for tracking using the round trip editing capabilities, and then Felix is going to go and make sure that gets shared out to the team. So Ben is here inside of his Outlook inbox. And he sees the email from Felix that the monthly report is there. He wants to update the latest report with the community traffic to show the trend there. So that information is kept in a file inside of Connections. There's the quarterly briefing document. So he's going to go preview the document here, and you'll notice there's a new option in the editing menu there. So in addition to uploading a new version, he can edit on the desktop. So this works when you have the Windows desktop plugins installed, and it'll open up the desktop application. You'll notice we have some additional actions there for Connections. So we're just going to go and lock the file to make sure no one else goes in and edits it while he's working on it. And he's just going to go edit the data here like you normally would. He's going to add in the April data. And we can continue to see growth in the community and leveling off of email and phone support calls. And then when he's done, he's going to publish this back to Connections. So he can put in summary of changes, right? I added the April numbers. He can also check off to notify people about the update, and as well as unlock the file, right? Because now that he's done with it, he wants to make sure he unlocks it. And so all of that is done automatically back in Connections. And now when we go back into Connections, you'll see that it's now been updated with the April data. So much simpler than having to save it, lock it, download it, upload it back up again. And now he's going to go share this with others on the team. So you can add Felix in here, for example, as an editor. And now back in Outlook, he's going to reply, but you can also very easily, you'll see add a link back in. So you'll see a new Connections option here in the menu. I can add a file, upload a new file to Connections, and add a link to it. I can also add recipients to the email based on Connections profile information. So since the file is already in Connections, he's just going to add a file into the chat, into the email from Connections. It has the list of recent files. So because we recently worked on it, it's right here. But you could also go through and search through my files or community files or files that have been shared with me, as well as do a free-form search for files as well. So now we're adding this in, and you'll notice we also have additional options. I can share with recipients as a reader if they weren't already a member of it. I could use a share link that makes it a bit more easy to share inside the company. And what that will do is that adds a link to the file and connections right in here. That keeps their content in connections. It keeps from having multiple versions emailed around and people, risking people having their own version, right? So it keeps the content where it belongs. One place, everyone's viewing it, editing it together, but very easy to go share that file inside of Connections from here. So again, just to recap here, I'm able to share content much faster. I'm able to seamlessly move back and forth between the various tools I might be using, whether it's Teams for chat or Connections for my forums and wikis and files. I can easily start a conversation directly from Connections, either by starting a chat anywhere I have my business card or from a profile page, or share a link from the page I'm looking at out to Teams and into that conversation, as well as easily insert content from Connections into a Teams chat that might be underway, or moving things back and forth in email in Outlook, and bringing that content from Connections into Outlook, or we didn't show it, but also moving attachments or information or the entire email from Outlook into Connections. So it's a lot of options there to really bring that forward. So moving forward, when we look outward at our strategy here, let me fast forward here in the interest of time. Over the last few years, we've focused on adoption and engagement with our 6.5 release, adding things like Touchpoint and Sidebar and highlights and the invite tool to bring more people in. We just talked a bit about making success repeatable with the tailored experience and the templates, as well as the integration to bring all the value of Connections to the Microsoft environment. And there are other things I didn't highlight as well either, like be able to export pages from inside Connections as to PDFs. Moving forward, our focus for the Connections 8 release is going to be all about the user experience. And so that's focused on a couple of key areas there. The first is around navigation and usability. We know it's always been a bit of an Achilles heel for Connections is that usability. It's a very powerful tool, but especially for new users, it does take a little getting used to. And we've been working really hard with our design team to take a fresh look at what that user experience should be, to make it easy to navigate through Connections, find what you need to do, quickly get where you're trying to go, and making sure that when you click on something, it takes you where you expect to go, that you don't need to learn to work the way Connections works. You can just work the way that feels natural for you and have Connections respond appropriately. So that is the first thing we're working on, is the overall look and feel and navigation. The next two areas really tie into the fundamental pillars of a solution like Connections. And the first of those is finding the information you need, finding the people you want to connect with. And so we're going to make search much more prominent, give it it's always going to be front and center at the top of the screen, similar to what you're used to in other applications today. And we're also taking a number of steps to optimize and update that search interface. So it'll prompt you with recent searches, for example. It'll prompt you with quick filters. So if you're searching for people or searching for file or want to quickly jump to a community with that name, you'll be able to do that quickly right from that search bar as you're typing. And then also optimizing the way the search results are presented. We know, especially inside communities, it can sometimes be easy to get a little lost when you're looking at search results, or you click through a result, it's not quite the one you want to get to, and suddenly you're not quite sure where you are. So really making sure that from a usability standpoint, when I'm searching, I can easily ladder and expand up and down from, well, let me search this wiki, to let me search this community, to let me search all of Connections, right? We know sometimes you don't always, you think it's in the community you're in, but it turns out it's not there. You want to broaden that search out. We want to make that really easy. And similarly, if you find what you're looking for and then want to get back to what you were working on before. We know there are a couple different types of searches. Sometimes you want to navigate someplace, right? I want to go to this community. I want to go find this person's profile. I want to find an expert. And sometimes you're where you want to be and you just want to look something up quickly. So I want to go grab a file. I want to see who worked on this project, and then I want to get back to what I was doing in Connections. And so we want to make sure we're accounting for both of those situations. And then the third piece that we're focusing on, really another key pillar for Connections, aside from finding what you want to find, is sharing information. And so taking steps through the user experience to make it very easy to upload and share. We know Connections hasn't always been consistent in sharing and hasn't always been as prominent as it can be. And so making sure that when you read a blog post and you say, hey, I should share this with my team, or I want to cross-post this to my community, you have a one-click, always available way of doing that. Similarly, when you're in the middle of something and you want to upload a file, you can do that without interrupting the work you're doing and make it very easy to upload and share that information so that you don't, you're in the middle of working on something, someone pings you and says, hey, where's this file? And you say, okay, let me go quickly share it here. Being able to do that without interrupting your work, without requiring 10 clicks to get over to there to do it, to navigate to a community, navigate to files, and then add it in, but rather reverse the process to make it very easy to upload the file, quickly select who you want to share it with, and then get it on its way and let you get back to work. So that is really the key focus for the next release of Connections. And I think in the interest of time, I think I've covered most of this already. Here is an early view of what the redesign may be looking like. You can see here I've got a home page here. I've got search across the top. Again, always available and prominent. I've got my navigation bar here on the left. Updated. We're looking to have a consistent look and feel across all of our HCL applications in terms of that kind of navigation. I've got my important to me bar that we introduced with Orient Me available here on the sidebar, so that that is always available and a quick jumping off point to the people or communities that are most used. And then I've got over here my share information, so I can share information, share the page I'm looking at, or quickly upload content into Connections and share it individually, posting it to files or uploading it to a community. Again, always present on any page. Like Connections has always been, this will be customizable, brandable, put your colors in, put your logos in, but really looking to make it always very easy to use with a clean, functional user experience for the users. I'm going to fast forward here a little bit. And then real briefly, looking out beyond Connections 8, our focus is really going to be on strengthening Connections as an enterprise community platform. And that really involves looking at the things that Connections does well and really looking at the feedback that's been shared through AHA and through direct contact to see how we can strengthen some of those core components inside the communities. So things like management of the life cycle of the community, management of member management. So how you can work with members, notifications inside of the community, archiving communities when it's no longer used anymore, focusing more on engagement. So continuing to update the landing page, better management at a user level for updates and notifications. And then also looking at integration, and that can be within the HCL ecosystem as well as with third-party applications.